In American society, money is a taboo topic. We're taught at a young age it's improper to talk about it, but we're also bombarded with messages about the power and importance of money in our everyday lives. And by not talking about it, we miss out on the skills and lessons we need to effectively understand and financially plan. That changes today. Welcome to Money Tales. Hosted by Sandy Brager and Cami Doder, Money Tales brings more than 35 years of combined professional experience in personal finance to demystify money and demonstrate what it's like to speak openly about personal financial matters. Join us each episode as they interview modern-day movers and shakers about how money decisions intertwine with their daily lives in order to give you better insight into productive financial conversations. Subscribe today and register for our blog Fathom at aspiriant.com/podcasts to increase your money mojo. And now, here's Cami and Sandy.
This week on Money Tales, our guest is Darnyelle Jervey Harmon. Darnyelle grew up facing tough challenges. Both of her parents struggle with addiction. She knew she had to make her own money and started working at McDonald's at age 13. Darnyelle was a diligent saver who was shocked when one day she opened her bank statement to see that there was no money in the account. Without apology, her dad had taken the money. Despite the difficulties, Darnyelle managed to find success. It came with a heavy burden. By her early 30s, she found herself drowning in a staggering $250,000 of credit card debt. Eventually, she had no choice but to file for bankruptcy, which she did begrudgingly. It turned out that the bankruptcy trustee made a decision that forever changed Darnyelle's financial trajectory. He required her to take a financial literacy course, which opened the door for Darnyelle's success. You've never met a business consultant like Darnyelle. She is the CEO of Incredible One Enterprises, a multi-million-dollar coaching and consulting brand. Over the last decade, Darnyelle has helped her clients generate more than $500 million in sales. Darnyelle is a best-selling author. Her latest book is titled Move to Millions. She's also the host of the Move to Millions Business Podcast.
Here are 3 key money topics Darnyelle hits on in this conversation. First, why she believes money is mental before it's material, and the way you see money is really about the way you see yourself. Second, how she defines success on her own terms. For Darnyelle, it's doing good work, operating with integrity, and changing the lives of other people. And third, how saying the word no can be a complete sentence. Having financial resources does not obligate you to help others out, especially when you know the assistance would enable behavior you don't agree with. We hope you share this episode with a friend, and please subscribe to Money Tales on your favorite podcast platform. Now on to our conversation with Darnyelle Jervey Harmon.
Welcome to the Money Tales podcast. I'm Cami Doder.
And I'm Sandy Brager.
Sandy, just coming back this past weekend, my whole family and I were at my brother's wedding.
How exciting! How was it?
It was so special. He married his partner that he's been with exactly 20 years.
Oh my gosh.
It was so special. And everybody's been dying for this wedding. Why are you guys waiting? I mean, they are a fabulous couple. I think they couldn't figure out how to throw a fantastic event like they did. I'm sharing this story because I had a great conversation with one of their friends about money. And it was really an honest, open, great conversation. Jeff and Michael threw a big wedding and they made an investment in this. You've got to invest in these special moments in life where you don't have to. You have to make choices. And what I really appreciated is this gentleman I was speaking to told me that he and his partner have been together 18 years.
So they're waiting another 2?
That's exactly right. But he said, gosh, we talk a lot about the choice we want to make. We do want to have a wedding, but we also want to have a beach house.
Both could lead to bliss in different ways.
That's right. So they have to make this decision. And I really appreciated that he brought it up, that it's going to our values. They value the relationship. They're committed. They want to do a wedding because it's just such a special celebration and a further commitment, but they also have other goals. I appreciate it. I've never really thought about making these trade-off decisions in that context. But marriage is a big investment in dollars, or getting married.
It is. And there's always trade offs in every financial decision that a person or a couple makes. And of course, the planner in me is thinking we could buy the beach house and then get married there and have a big blowout party.
Oh, I like this idea.
It's great that they're making a very intentional decision for themselves and weighing their values and what's most important to them.
Absolutely. Well, let's pivot to our guest today, Dr. Darnyelle Jervey Harmon. It's fantastic to be speaking with you on Money Tales.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Would you introduce yourself and share a couple pivotal moments that took place in your life that really impacted who you are today?
So again, I am Darnyelle Jervey Harmon. I am a God girl, first and foremost. I am a business owner. I am a millionaire, actually a multimillionaire. Today, I am the product of drug addicted turned crack addicted parents, born in 1975. Crack didn't come around until like 1989-ish. But both of my parents struggled with an addiction. My mom went to jail when I was 8. My father was an addict until he died 2 years ago in one form or another. And so when I think about money, it's been a thing in my life for a very long time. I remember being 6 years old and going with my mother to the grocery store. And I remember wanting a little piece of candy and getting backslapped because we couldn't afford it. And the first memory of money I got was money is for what you need. We couldn't afford that. That wasn't a necessity. That was a nice to have. And that was 6 years old. I remember being in the 7th grade and going to my father because my friends and I were going to an amusement park as a part of our 7th grade field trip. We all wanted to get matching shorts in these spray painted t-shirts that were all the rage back then. And I remember going to my dad and asking him for $20 and him saying, "What do you think? Money grows in a tree out back? We can't afford that." And the fact of the matter is we were technically middle class. My dad made really great money at his job. He was an engineer, but he was an addict. And so all of his resources went to his habit. So I also remember at age 13 getting my first job working at McDonald's. I read a statistic recently that says 1 in 8 Americans get their start at McDonald's. Hey, I am her. And so I started working at 13 with working papers. I don't even know if they do that anymore. I started working just to be able to have more than my basic needs met, because that's what my father guaranteed me, that there would be a roof over my head. There would be some clothes. They might not all fit. They might not be in style, but there would be clothes on my back and there would be food to eat. In order to have more than that, I decided to start working. So by the time I was 16, I'd saved half of every paycheck I'd ever gotten in those 3 years. And I had a nice little chunk of change, almost 5 figures in the bank, only to get my bank statement one day to realize that my father stole my money. And when I asked him about it, he said, "Oh, you thought you were living here for free? Is that enough of a couple of early minutes about money? You want me to keep going? Because I got plenty of money stories."
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for starting us there. Putting aside half of your salary is a really fantastic, almost an advanced financial strategy. And I'm curious, Darnyelle, did you just do this intuitively? Did you have someone who talked with you about ways in which to save and grow your money?
No, that was actually a mandate of my father's. Now, I didn't know he was going to want to take my money, but the mandate was I could spend half and I had to save half of every check.
Tell us about the conversation when you realized that your father took all that money out of your account.
I don't know if it was a conversation. I didn't have cheerleading practice that day. So I got home and I got the mail. Typically, I was the last person home every day because of cheerleading practice. And so I got home, I got the mail, bank statement arrives, Darnyelle A. Jervey, guarantor Robert J. Jervey underneath. I open it, it's got my name on it. And when I look at the bank statement, I'm flabbergasted. I went immediately and got my little registry book where I kept track of every deposit I put in. And the math wasn't mathing, as we say today. And I'm pacing the floors, waiting for my father to get home. And I don't even let the man get in the garage good and undo his seatbelt before I'm busting out the door to get his attention because someone has stolen from me. Now, I didn't think in that moment that it was my father. I'm thinking there's some massive bank glitch or something that has transpired, because surely all of the money that's in my little deposit booklet should be in my bank account. And when I show it to my father, he's very nonchalant. He's unbothered. He's unmoved. And he just flippantly responds, "Oh, you thought you were living here for free." And that was really the end of the conversation. I learned a very important second, third, however many lessons about money it was at that point in time that day, was that your money can be taken away from you at any point in time with your say or not. From that moment forward, I had this known present fear that my money might disappear. It's a habit today that I flipped into one of my millionaire habits. I look at my bank accounts every single day. Today, I'm not so worried that someone has gone in and stole my money. But today, I'm checking it because I believe today that you're in a relationship with money. And just like if you're in a relationship with a human, you have got to relate and show it attention. Well, I show my money attention by looking at it every day and expressing gratitude for it. But at that particular point in time, the fear was at any point in time, I could check my accounts and my money could be gone. And there's nothing I can do about it. I just have to take it, because that is what I learned in that moment.
With all these really strong money messages and learnings that you had as a child and as an adolescent, where does that take you as you move into your life? How do you bridge the gap between that experience as a young person and becoming a multi-million-dollar business owner today?
The gap gets way wider before it starts to go away, just so we're clear. So I was blessed enough to go to college on a full academic scholarship. So that meant it cost me nothing. Yet, by the time I graduated, I had as much credit card debt as I could have had student loan debt, because I was, as most of America is, if we look at statistics, 63% of adults would declare themselves financially illiterate, and they live paycheck to paycheck. I was financially illiterate, and I remember being on the yard one day and a friend saying, "A credit card is layaway you get to take home."
And they gave you a t-shirt, right?
Yes, the t-shirt and layaway I could take home. I knew all about layaway. And so that began what became a mountain of credit card debt. $250,000 is where I tapped out in credit card debt. And the sad part about that, ladies, is that I cannot say that I had Gucci and Prada and Louis. I cannot say that it went to designer, luxurious things. I cannot even tell you where that money went. I believe that there was some keeping up with the Joneses per se, and some buying things for friends to feel wanted and accepted, thinking about that innate need that we all have to feel like we matter, and using money because I could lay away it, but I could take it home as a way to pacify and placate those that were in my life at that point in time. I'm a middle child, and middle children are very invisible. We have to do something. I've done a lot of studies and looked at a lot of things that middle children are often addicted to attention, and they are success driven just to get attention. So they do things just so that the spotlight might shine on them, because otherwise their older sibling or their younger sibling is the one that's getting all of the attention. I fall right into all of that. So by the time I was in my early 30s, I had about $250,000 in credit card debt. I robbed Peter to pay Paul for as long as I could. And eventually I couldn't keep up with it anymore. So the bottom started to fall out, and I was in a position where all I could do was file bankruptcy. There was no way that I could ever catch up. I did begrudgingly file bankruptcy, but I did eventually, around 35, file bankruptcy. And the bankruptcy trustee, now I don't know that this was a mandate for the state of Delaware. I don't know that he required anybody else to do this, but he required that I take a financial literacy course. I think he looked at my $250,000 in debt and was like, if I don't get this girl some help, she's going to be back in my courtroom in about another 7 to 10 years. So let me get her some help so that I don't ever have to see her again. He required that I take a financial literacy course, and the financial literacy course literally changed my life. It is the true defining moment. It is the road less traveled. It made all the difference. And as a part of that financial literacy course, I got the traditional budget, don't live beyond your means, financial literacy lessons. But I also learned about the psychology of money and the metaphysics and neuroscience of money
In this class.
in this class. it was unique in that the professor, the teacher, whatever, it wasn't a college course, but we had 2 texts. One text, I couldn't tell you the name of it because it was nothing spectacular, but it was basic financial literacy. This is how banking works and budget and all of that. And then the other book that I had was called A Happy Pocket Full of Money by David Cameron Giocondi. And that book changed my life. And because of that, I learned that I was giving a lot of attention to money. And not that money shouldn't have attention, but I was looking at it the wrong way. I didn't understand it. It was a source of contention in my life experience because everyone that I knew, the relationship that they had to and with money was a thin line between love and hate. And so by learning to understand what money was and then being able to apply those principles along with the principles of the traditional financial literacy curriculum, within 3 years, I was a bona fide millionaire in liquid assets. So not even including my home and insurance and things like that, but things that I could get access to within 3 years. I had $1 million of that. So that was around 37, 38. Today, 48, I'm worth 8 figures. I've got a wealth management portfolio that's got real estate, that's got stock market, that's got crypto, that's got insurance, that's got a lot of different things in it that contributes to the wealth that I enjoy today. Plus, I do run a company that does well. All of these things together have afforded me the opportunity to shift my relationship with money and to today be a person who can teach other people how to shift theirs.
Darnyelle, that story is unbelievable and magical in this gift of being required to take this course. But like you said, it wasn't the book that you've forgotten. It was the other one. During this 3-year period where you have just completely pivoted your life, tell us more about the work you did to change your relationship with money. That's the game changer.
So I believe that money is mental before it's material. And the way you see money is really about the way you see God and the way you see yourself. And so I believe that people who have a poor relationship with money have a poor self-esteem. Once you understand what money is, it's just a tool. It's not a measuring stick. It's not an indication of your worth or your value. It is literally just a tool. And once you recognize that it is in fact currency, it's always flowing. It never stops. Right now, somewhere there's someone homeless on the street and there's someone who just made another $1 billion because money is always moving and we get to choose whether it moves to us. And so once you understand these fundamentals, you can play the game of money because money is literally a game. First of all, and it doesn't matter whether you were born into wealth or you were born into poverty. Most people, regardless, have a lack and scarcity mindset around money because even if you were born in wealth, you're taught money is taboo. You never talk about it. You're not taught and you don't learn what it is and how it moves and how it works. So you still move through the world from a space of lack, even if there is money in your coffers. It's a dichotomy that jacks us all up. So that's one of the things that really equalizes people. It doesn't matter because most of us have the same understanding of money, regardless of how much we come from. Now, if we come from money, we might still not understand it and have a sense of entitlement. So we might know that money will always be there, but we think that it's always there because our family has it and not because we have the ability to control how much of it moves in our direction. So for me, the biggest thing was the internal shift, seeing myself differently, seeing money for what it was and stop putting my worth based on what was in my bank account. Now that's hard. It's especially hard when you come from an environment of lack. The saying goes, we didn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of, which is true. It was tough. It was hard times. My mom did the best that she could with what she had, and she stretched every dollar until it started to holler, every single one. And that's what I learned. That's what I replicated because that's what I thought I had to do. Even when I started working, I felt like I had to work hard because I was told you have to work hard for money. Some of you won't see my face. You'll just hear my voice. I am a Black girl. And so my dad used to tell me at least once a week, if not twice a week, that I had to work twice as hard for half as much, and I should be grateful for what I was given. I believed that. And this country, in a lot of ways, still shows me examples that that is true. I'm contending with all of this as I'm reconciling what I'm learning about money. And I just made a decision that I was going to follow the principles. There is what is true, which is a matter of perspective, and there is the truth, which is a matter of principle. And I decided to lean into the principles instead of leaning into my perspective. And when I leaned into the principles and followed the principles produced a different result. And I just kept following the principles. But it was absolutely an internal work. It's always internal before it's external. And so a lot of the work I do today is about helping our clients shift the way they see themselves and shift the way they see money. I teach them about the importance of embodiment, and I teach them about capacity. You have to raise your tolerance level for money if you want more of it to flow into your life experience. And if you don't have capacity for it to flow in, it can't. So most of us, we're harboring fear and resentment and overwhelm and unforgiveness in the spaces that are supposed to flow with abundance. Well, abundance can't get in when that's what's taking up the space. We have to do that internal work. And so I did my internal work. I learned the power of forgiveness. I believe that forgiveness allows your money to flow freely. And as I stated earlier, I'm a God girl, and I don't apologize about that. I quote the Bible like other people quote Think and Grow Rich. I don't believe the Bible is a religious text. I believe the Bible is basic instructions before leaving earth. I think people use it religiously. And so I like to have that separation because I think it's important to understand the principles that are in the Bible that unlock the mysteries. The Bible talks about money, wealth, and possession 2,300 times. It talks about poverty 15. There's a reason why God talked about money so much, because he wants you to master it, because it's a tool. It's not an indication of your value and your worth. We were all born with the accessibility of the abundance of money. We don't all get to realize it because of the families that we're born into and the decisions that we make and that are made for us that impact the way money flows to us. But if we could learn how to shift the way we see ourselves first and open up just to consider the feasibility that the way that we've been doing money isn't right, just that opening is opening enough to create space for more to flow in.
That's right, Darnyelle. And it's amazing that you did all this internal work on your own. It doesn't sound like you were working with a coach or anyone else.
I didn't have a coach at that particular point in time. I was already on the other side making great money by the time I hired my first coach. I did a lot of reading. I had the person who I took the financial literacy course, but he wasn't my coach. And I had a few conversations with him. I have a therapist. We unearthed a lot of things in therapy. Therapy is great for uprooting the past. It's not really great for moving into the future. But before you can move into the future, you've got to deal with the past. And so I did a lot of work there, which made a difference as well. And I have always been determined to be successful in my definition of success. It may have started as what other people might think success is, but today it's what Darnyelle desires success to look like for her.
Darnyelle, will you expand on that?
I believe that God will let you live on whatever level you settle for. And so if I decide to settle, then it's okay because that's the decision that I made. And if I'm going to settle, I'm going to settle for the best of everything. That drives me. And so I'm very self-motivated. A lot of people aren't. They need accountability. If you've ever been broke, if you've ever been bankrupt, if you've ever eaten ramen noodles and peanut butter and jelly every other day and did everything in your power to avoid living in your car, then you have a whole different set of determination. That willpower will get you to make the decisions you need to make and to become self-accountable. Still don't need anyone else to hold me accountable. I'm accountable to myself because I know what it is that I desire and I know the difference that it will make when I get to show up fully in service to that.
Darnyelle, you said you're driven by how you define success. Tell us, how do you define success?
It's really simple. By doing good work, operating in integrity, and changing the lives of other people. I believe that Zig Ziglar quote, if you help enough people get what they want, you will get what you want. I operate from that paradigm in everything. I'm a servant, first and foremost. I love to serve people. Now, I'm not a volunteer because there's a difference, but I serve. When my clients invest in themselves through me, I over-deliver. And I don't over-deliver because I don't believe that it's worth whatever they invested. I over-deliver because I believe in giving people more than what they invested in themselves through. Because that's how we restore humanity. And that's how we help people know that they too can give more. And it's a principle. When you give, it's always coming back. You might not know where it's coming back from. And I don't do it so it comes back, I do it fully cognizant that it will come back. It's not a transactional exchange. I just know that that's the way that it works.
Oftentimes with clients and with friends, I will ask, what gives you more satisfaction? Receiving a gift that you really wanted or giving a gift that you really knew was needed?
Yeah, I like to give.
Yeah, that's coming through loud and clear.
Sure, buy me things. The thing is, I could buy myself whatever I want. That doesn't move me, but being able to give into someone else, it really does move.
Which is a gift in and of itself, giving into someone else.
And it's on my terms. I say this often. When this episode airs, people will slide in my DMs and they will ask me to give to them. It happens every time. And I don't move. If someone sends me something and I feel moved by it, then maybe I move. But I also recognize that just because I'm a giver, that doesn't mean that I have to give because you want me to give to you. I still get to decide, which is why I said it's success on my terms, not on someone else's.
When you were going through this, I'm going to call it an enlightenment, you're totally shifting your views of money after taking this course and pouring into more books and resources and learning about yourself, and you're starting to make more money. What happened in the dynamics of your family?
That's really hard for me to answer. I didn't get to choose the family that I was born into, but as an adult, I focus on what I can control, and I can control the environment that I want to be in, an environment that makes me feel safe, that allows me to put my guard down and all of those types of things. And so I've made personal decisions where I don't spend a lot of time with family. So I can't really speak to whether that changed or not. When I think about my immediate family, my mom had 7 children. My dad had 4. They shared 3. So I have one brother and one sister. We have the same parents. And then I have a host of half brothers and one half sister. At periods of time in life, we may have interacted one way or another and those types of things. But by and large, it has not been an extremely positive, warm and fuzzy thing. And so I don't gravitate towards it. My family are the friends that I have and that I've picked up along the way who see me, who honor me, and who make me feel safe. And sometimes you're blessed for that to be the family you're born into. And sometimes you're blessed for it to be the family that you find on your journey. Although I do have resource, I don't feel compelled or obligated to do things for my family. I get to decide. I get asked all the time. And often the answer is no, because the people in my family today, they're able-bodied adults who made bad decisions. And I don't believe in enabling people when they make bad decisions. I make that choice that the answer is no. Or like I'll do a portion. I remember years ago, my father called me and he had this electric bill that was like $1,400. And he's like, well, will you just pay my bill? And I was like, no. And he's like, well, I know you have it. This is not about if I have it. Yes, I have it. But why am I giving it to you? You're a grown ass man. You're still getting high and you're making decisions. You had the money and you chose to smoke it. How's that now my problem that I got to come behind you and solve your problem? I was like, I have $200. And if you give me your account number, I will call and I will make it to the gas and electric company. Because you should have called me when your bill was $200, not now that it's $1,400. Maybe it makes me wrong and it makes me cold-hearted or whatever people might be saying as they judge me as they listen to this, but I don't believe in enabling. And I think a lot of people hold this belief about money, which is why they don't allow more of it to flow into their life experience. They get bogged down by the obligation of it. But the fear that when they get this money, all of their cousins are going to come out of the woodwork and they're going to have to share. No, that's not true. It's only true if you lean into it and you live in that way. And I remember one time my dad even saying to me, you give so much money to charity and you won't even give to your own family. And I'm like, and? It was a measure to try to make me feel guilty to get me to do something. I'm not going to be manipulated. I'm a grown woman. And the whole reason why I'm going down this path, I don't know all of your listeners, but I imagine right here, right now, there's someone who's listening and they have this same exact situation in their family. And out of the guilt that they feel that it's their family that is asking them for whatever, they are inconveniencing themselves to help their family who wouldn't do the same thing for them. I just want to give those people permission in this moment that your no is a no, and it's always a no, and you don't have to change your no unless you want to change your no, because no is a complete sentence.
We believe the power of story does just that. Someone could tell you to not follow and every request and you don't have an obligation. You can tell that. You can read it in a book. But the power of story, of hearing someone who actually did it and why you did it, is really impactful. So thank you for sharing that. I'm curious, Darnyelle, you do a lot. You're a keynote speaker, you're a consultant, you're creator of Move to Millions. You do so much. What are you most passionate about?
I'm most passionate about all of it. So I really do the same thing. I just have different modalities that I do it in. All of us, our purpose is to serve God and to serve others. That's our big aura purpose. My purpose specifically is to equip entrepreneurs and small business owners with the tool, that tool being entrepreneurship, that allows them to build financial legacy through their business. That's my gift. My work converges at the intersection of spiritual principles, business growth strategy, and money, financial literacy. That's where I live. Everything I do is around that. Sometimes that means I'm on a stage telling my story, keynoting, sharing my methodologies and frameworks. Sometimes that means I'm coaching clients one-on-one. Sometimes that means I'm in a corporate setting, working with their leaders and executives, helping them to see themselves in money differently. And sometimes that means I'm writing a book, and sometimes that means I'm on my own podcast. But what I do for the earth is to shift generational trajectories around wealth and money through entrepreneurship.
Darnyelle, that's such important work. And I think this last question for you is going to be pretty easy to answer. What's your next money conversation going to be, and who's it going to be with?
It might be with a potential client, because I had a conversation earlier this week with a woman who would like to come and work with me and probably got a little sticker shock at the investment. So she went to think about it, and she sent a text message this morning saying, I really want to work with you, but I really can't afford it. And I am not in the business of convincing people to let me change their life, but I am in the business of holding space for people to help them to realize probably three things. Number one, money flows away from those who feel that there is a shortage of it. So just by saying I can't afford it, money flows out of your life experience. Number two, we can afford anything we want, because the people who most say that when they're given an opportunity to invest in themselves through something else, that they can't afford it, are the same people who drive luxury cars, carry luxury bags, and take luxury vacations. So they can afford whatever it is that they want. And then lastly, I think the biggest thing in this particular conversation is giving her permission to say yes to herself, because she's so used to saying yes to other people. So being able to be intuitive and to have a prophetic anointing allows me to see that in people, to help to hold space for them to say yes to themselves through the opportunity that's being presented. In this conversation, I won't force, I won't poke, I won't prod, but I will hold space and I will hold up a mirror to allow her to decide if she wants to give herself permission to say yes to herself through accessing a resource that's going to make her way more money than she gives me. And so that's what we'll get into in our conversation.
Darnyelle, what a gift of a conversation. Would you share with our listeners, where's the best place for them to find you digitally?
So if they go to movetomillions.com, that page has a link to everything. We've got free gifts there. If you want to learn about my book, if you want to listen to my podcast, you want to find me on IG, all the places, go to movetomillions.com. It's easy to spell. You don't have to try to figure out whether the Y goes before the N when you hear my name. So you can just go to movetomillions.com.
Darnyelle, thank you very much for joining us and sharing your unbelievably moving and inspiring stories.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Money Tales podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, share it with someone you think would benefit from listening, and leave us a review on your favorite podcasting platform. Your ratings and reviews help more people find our podcast. If you're inspired to gain clarity and peace of mind about financial matters, don't hesitate to reach out to our team at Aspiriant. Go to aspiriant.com/start a dialogue. Or you can email Sandy and me at podcasts@aspiriant.com. See you next time.